The BMD Podcast, anytime you want. Hey everybody, back to the channel. Glad you're with us here on this great day. I'm the BMD, your host of Major League Broadcasting. Short form is MLB. And we have a wonderful guest today. We're going to be talking green. We're going to be talking clean air. We're going to be talking environment with CEO, president, owner, operator. He wears all the hats on the table. Say hello to Eric Latino. He is Mr. GESi. Now, let's catch up. We've interviewed numerous times, but our first Zoom call. What is GESi, that sign behind you? What is GESi? Take it away.
It's the icon for Global Emission Systems, Inc. So when somebody sees that brand, it's like looking at a Coke. You're not asking for a cola. It could be Pepsi. Everybody's always wanted that Coke. When people see that GESi, it equates to ultra-low emissions.
All right. Now, we hit it off with you are Mr. Green Friendly Environment. What do you do at GESi? Let's catch up. Let's have the audience hear what you do.
So what we do, Mike, is it's inevitable that all the new car manufacturers are coming up with these high horsepower cars. Today, you buy a brand new Corvette and it's got 700 horsepower. Whoever thought 20 years ago you'd see a Corvette that came with 300 horsepower, up to 400 in the 90s, 2,000 up to 500. Now we're at 700 horsepower. So what we do is we design, engineer, manufacture emission control technology for the high performance world. These young kids, car enthusiasts, are upgrading their 700 horsepower up to 12 and 1,300 horsepower. So we develop an emission control that can withstand those high temperatures and environment. Today, we supply about 90% of the high performance industry with these emission controls. So it basically reduces all of the greenhouse gases, the nasty ones, the smells, the hydrocarbon, the CO, the sonic killer, and the NOx, which causes all the smog, and we reduce them by over 98%. We could say 100 at most times, but 98% is a real comfortable number.
Now, you've been doing this a while. How did you get into the industry?
I was one of those guys that, like yourself, Mike, car enthusiast you are, would buy a new Corvette and it would feel like really fast for the first month. The 400 horsepower all of a sudden feels like 200. So if you're a real car enthusiast, you never have enough. You're always trying to find that upgrade. So what we would do is we would install superchargers and turbochargers that would allow the engine to increase its horsepower from 400 to 700, 750. And remember, this is in the 90s. This is in 97, 98. Emissions weren't a concern. There was no legislation here in Ontario. So we had to remove the original catalytic converter because it was just too small and restricted. And when drivetrain came out in 1999, I had a whopping 200 and something cars that had no emission controls that would not pass the drivetrain test. Backed in the corner, got together with a few of my customers, discussed the situation that I was in. We came out and engineered the world's best emission control for high performance cars, indestructible materials that NASA uses, going to the moon. And we put all that technology into a catalytic converter. By 2003, it evolved from a maybe hobby business to, a lot of attention around the world. Took me to Australia, took me to Romania, started to work with power generation, car manufacturers, and 17 years later, we're a business recognized around the world.
So it's not just an auto situation, it's also industrial and commercial, is it not?
Yeah, so on the commercial side, we are an OEM provider to some of the major generator manufacturers. Generators that are used for backup power for hospitals, hotels, whenever there's life safety, elevators are in a building, you have to have a generator. If there's ever a power failure, that generator's got to fire up in 3 seconds. They never were regulated for emissions. Nobody really cared. But of course, with all the new EPA legislation, they became regulated. So we currently today take the technology from the vehicles that we've learned, took it into the industrial world in power generation. We built the same technology to go in underground mines. We're approved by MSHA, which is the Mine Safety and Health Association. The Toronto Transit Commission has equipment that goes in the tunnels at nighttime when we're all sleeping and the trains aren't running, and they have people working down those tunnels. Our emission controls are on that equipment to keep them all safe and free from any kind of harmful emissions. One step further, we just got into the tractor trailer, the big Class 8 highway trucks you see going down the freeway. Today, we have a full line of emission controls as good or better than the OEM to reduce the particulate matter on top of the nasty CO, hydrocarbon, and NOx emissions and nitrogen oxides.
So when you're driving down the highway, and I get an instant headache when those big trucks are blowing that black smoke, obviously it comes into the cab on the vehicle you're in. Are you saying GESi takes away not only that headache, but the black smoke?
Yeah, if you look at most newer trucks, you won't see any of that smoke. They've all installed these diesel particulate filters that fail about every 400,000 miles. And an average truck will do 2 million miles in its lifetime. Those particulate filters are replaced 4 to 5 times in that life cycle of that vehicle. So we have set up 4 warehouses in the US to service that whole industry. Our product, we say, is better than the OEM, but canning technique, it's all laser welded in one piece. Because we've had to make emission controls for car enthusiasts that would buy a $3,000 exhaust system that when they open the box up, it looks like a piece of jewelry. It has to be absolutely perfect. In the trucking world, they're underneath the truck. Nobody sees it. It's all hidden behind shields. But the problem is our production team doesn't know how to do anything other than looking that good. So we definitely have the best looking product on the market, and we claim to have the best emission reduction in the marketplace today.
So what are you doing in the R&D, research and development? Are you chasing new ideas every day?
So Mike, good question. So what we've done right now is we've put 3 test cells in our facilities. We can't claim to say we got a great technology unless we can test it first. So we have 3 test cells. Test cell 1 is for testing natural gas and propane powered generators and engines. Test cell 2 is for diesel engines. It's designed to test the same engine that you see in a highway tractor trailer. We have those 3 engine families in our facilities. We'll run them, run the OEM, test our new pieces, and just continue to advance the technology and test weekly that engine is running to make things better than what we thought we made this week. It's not good enough for next week. So we're constantly always on that battle of new ingenuity and technologies.
Now, what about sabotage and people trying to steal all your hard work and effort on new technologies? How do you safeguard yourself there?
So the industry, most of the technologies in the industry are applied on a material which is a cordierite, like a ceramic honeycomb. We've engineered a metal, and so what they do is they dissolve that material until it turns into its original compound, and then they can detect the leftover precious metals and all the, the secret sauce, as like the KFC spices, I'd call it, on that substrate. Because ours is a metallic substrate, they can't dissolve it, because if they try to dissolve that metal, they dissolve all the precious metals, so it's really difficult to reverse engineer. So we make sure that our technologies are applied, most of them on this metallic substrate, which makes it difficult. But on top of that, Mike, that's why we're trying to develop new technologies weekly, because whatever they reverse engineer might take them 6 months. That was yesterday's technology, and today's technology is different. So we always try to stay on top of our game.
What about anybody trying to steal your hard work and your patents? Have you had to go after anybody for infringing on your development rights?
We haven't yet. What I find and what people would do is they'll look at a technology and they'll test it. Then they'll do research on the company to see how strong this company is. If it's a weak company, they're going to reverse engineer it, knowing that you wouldn't have the financial support to back up the legal team you need to support your technology's patent protection. You know, we've come a long way. The company is doing really well. Our website, if you go on it, we dress to impress. If you look at our web pages out of our 3 lines, which is like the dpfxfit.com, GESi.us, and our gsportbygesi.com, really powerful messages on there, and around the industry we're very well known. So most people that would even think about trying to reverse engineer know today that we would have the backup and the legal team to put that to a stop.
What about the old slogan in the dawn of mankind, man do, man undo?
Well, I can tell you this for sure, Mike. I can almost guarantee you that every day they're reverse engineering the technology, and they're going out there. And the only way we're ever going to know, the only way we're ever going to know is we would have to find out through gossip and talk in the industry. So it could be happening today. We don't know if it is or not.
Now, you mentioned North America, you're heavy. What about third world countries? Have tremendous yellow smog, China, India, Sri Lanka, just to name a few. Are you knocking on those doors?
Yeah, I went to China. I've been to China 3 years ago. I went to India 2 years ago, and my team has been to India twice. 2 years ago with me and once last year. We are working with the large engine manufacturers there. We're working with the second largest vehicle truck manufacturer in all of India. And they don't just sell in India, they also export it into Europe as well. So it's coming. It's just a long road, very difficult. And with COVID right now, COVID is making it so difficult for us to travel. You know, today, by now, we would have been launched in India. That got put on hold. We were supposed to do a big launch in the US on our heavy duty line. It was put on hold because we have 22 sales reps on the road in the US and to cover every state across the nation are not allowed to see the people, the customers, the clients. So everything is through Zoom. Everything is done through phone. But, you know, we always say the real business is done belly to belly. You got to be in front of that customer to close that deal.
You mentioned belly to belly. What is everybody overweight you're dealing with?
No, not at all. I guess we could say chest to chest on some of them, right?
Chest to chest. Okay. I just thought it might have been too many snacks.
Yeah. No, we're good.
Listen, what about government? Have they been receptive? Have they closed the doors? Tell us, not necessarily your intimate run-ins, but overall, are they receptive of GESi when you're knocking at the door?
Yeah, so the government has been really good. EPA, which is the federal governing body in the United States, also does the same regulation in Canada. And CARB, which is California Air Resources Board, they know us well. We've got over 65 of those certifications to cover a broad range of different applications. Ontario's coming around. We're really trying to work and help out the PC party and work along with Premier Doug Ford with his team on letting them know your regulations are set at this certain bar level. We have technology that can lower that, and this is how we can do it, and we can help, integrate that into the system. So there is a lot of correlation going on with us and the Minister of Environment, and we've been working over the past year or so. So hopefully we'll be able to, and this is not going to be us. There's other manufacturers in Canada that manufacture emission controls. Some are as good as ours. Some may be better. We don't know, but it's an open game for all manufacturers to bid on it. They just need to know that the technology does exist so they can set legislation.
So what about your field of expertise? You wearing all the different hats at GESi, where do you zero in every day? Are you meet and greeting at this point? Are you dealing with upper ends on the government or other CEOs? Or tell us a typical day for Eric Latino.
Oh, you don't want to know. It's a hectic day. It starts first thing in the morning. I get up in the morning around 6:20. I head in the basement. I got a full gym, cardio equipment. I work out for an hour, shower, big, hearty breakfast. The biggest meal of the day for me is in the morning. Once I get to work, it's just heads down on the call, on the computer, walking through the shop. But my job today is I got a really good, strong team. At one time, I used to go out and do the selling, help do the development, help do the assembly, do the emission testing, sourcing out components and parts. Today, the whole team does that. My job today is just to kind of overlook the whole team. But I'm looking at where the company's going to be 4 to 5 years from now. So we're working out deals, looking at properties. We've gone into the U.S. We've done some negotiations. We just secured a new building, a new location in North Carolina because it's a big hub for trucks. It's hard for us. We're being very hypocritical because we're sourcing our products coming out of Mooresville, North Carolina. They're coming up to Canada to be integrated, to be sent back to the U.S. again. So some of these are traveling 4,000 to 5,000 kilometers before they're actually being installed on a vehicle. So the whole tie with North Carolina is our supplier is 200 yards away. So 200 yards, our location, assembled right to our customer. So that's in the play. I have clients in Europe. We just secured an application for transit buses for a bus manufacturer out of Spain. We met the emissions target for till 2024, but they also passed to meet the new targets to go from 25 to 29. So we're well ahead of our game on that technology.
So what about doing a little research on you? I know your passion and your recreation time is being a professional race car driver. And it was interesting reading the bio that you've integrated the GESi philosophy into a crazy sport that is 200 miles an hour wide open. Can you tell us about your passion there and how you integrated the GESi business overtone or product throughout that racing world?
So, it's funny. The guys made a slogan up, they go CEO, race car driver, why not both? So, yeah, I do wear two hats. I definitely compete in a very, very competitive series called NHRA, National Hot Rod Association. It's televised live on Fox Sports. Of course, we've been locked out this year, so we haven't been able to compete. But we chose to run the vehicle on ethanol, which is a low carbon-based fuel. Everything, our whole support team, golf carts, our trucks are all equipped with our emission controls. And most car enthusiasts are at the races. Most of these car enthusiasts that would normally eliminate the emissions, we're educating them on, putting them back on. It doesn't rob horsepower. The whole complete car is wrapped and branded in the GESi G Sport DPFX.
So in your bio also, it mentioned that at one point you were the fastest man alive.
We were. Yeah, sure. 2017, we brought a brand new combination with a new car out. We started off in Gainesville, Florida, first race of the year. And being a new car, it's always difficult to get that car down the racetrack. We ended up qualifying number 16 out of 32 cars with a 16-car field. So we basically qualified to make the race, but in last position. And the first round, we took out number 1, set the world record, 577 at 256 miles an hour.
Like, how fast does that feel?
Well, Mike, I think I lost the screen. There we go. Okay. It pulls 3.4 Gs. So if you think about when you're in an airplane and we're all hanging on, that thing takes off and it starts to thrust as it tries to take off the runway, multiply that by 10 times. That's the feeling. It happens so fast, so quick. Travel 256 miles an hour, an equivalent to 440 kilometers an hour in 5.77 seconds. It is fast. The engine, it doesn't even do a 1,000. When you think about RPM, most cars have an RPM gauge in their vehicle. This engine doesn't even complete 1,000 cycles in that time frame. It's so fast. But we went out round 2 and beat our own record. It went at 572. So we set a record on the Saturday and we broke it again on the Sunday. Unfortunately, we had some engine issues that we couldn't continue on. Let me back up. I actually lost on a hole shot, which means that when that light says it's time to go, you got to go. I was so confident in how fast this car was that I didn't think that I really needed to worry too much about it. But my component, Troy Coughlin, who's the president of GESi Performance Parts, they stepped up their game and ended up running a 576 to my 572, but I was a little slow in the light. Good to what happens, Mike, when you set a world record, especially being a Canadian, the only Canadian on the circuit. Our fellow American friends went right to us with the officials and said, do not touch this vehicle. We're following you back to your pits, and we're taking this whole car apart to make sure you're not cheating. It's no different than the Olympic athletes that have to be drug tested. So the 4 officials come, and because there's rules. The car needs to be a specific weight. The engine has to be a certain size. The valve size has to be a certain valve size, and the supercharger needs to turn a certain speed, and so on. They spent 2.5 hours going through the car and found a 0, which meant we got the official world record. You know, Mike, next time I'm on, I'll actually grab a copy of that official record and I'll show you on the screen. It's really cool because there's not too many people that can sit there proud and say,
"Oh, that's a
big accomplishment."
Unbelievable feat. Unbelievable feat. Now back to GESi. Just we've got a few minutes left on the show here. What is GESi's philosophy? Maybe not out of your mouth, but the company's philosophy. You keep mentioning your team. What is GESi's future? Where is GESi going? Where is the weakness in the world that we live in? Obviously, the air we breathe is a big, big thing. And water. Is GESi doing anything in the water improvement?
Well, we're not working on, indirectly we are. We have partnered up with a company, J&A Services. They're based out of Colorado. They got 9 locations. They're big in the oil and gas field. And what they're doing is whenever the oil comes out of the well, it's mixed with water. So they run it through a process to heat the water in the oil, separates the water from the oil, but it produces a methane gas. We developed a system to treat that methane to reduce the emissions that met the strictest emissions the EPA has out called Quad O. That passed 4 months ago. The systems right now are installed on Exxon's sites, so one of the largest oil producers in the world. But during that cleaning emissions, we've also are taking that water, running a whole complete reverse osmosis and, a whole complete ultraviolet light system that's cleaning that water and putting it back down the well. Global's not going to get into the water space other than we're giving some of our input on what we think they need to do to get there. So we've been helping them out with some catalysis, but not necessarily have any ownership in that business. Just helping our partners out.
Back to the R&D. How does GESi stay ahead of the curve? You mentioned there's other companies that are producing emission control device. What makes GESi, a forefront leader in the field? I assume you believe that you're one of, or you are the leader. How do you stay ahead of the curve?
Our philosophy has always been deliver the best product for the best value, partner up with the right people, not everybody, just pick the right partner. So instead of having 300 distributors, let's have 20. Let's pick the right partners to go to market, get the right message across. We don't want to be a commodity. We're not out there trying to sell shoelaces. We're trying to sell the best technology, and it takes a lot of good people and a lot of talent to get that message across.
So are you going to be in this game forever? or are you setting yourself up to? Sounds like you got a crazy schedule when you said you're only sleeping an hour or 2 hours a night.
A little bit exaggerated there, Mike. I'm going to say.
You're exaggerating. Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, if you ask, well, this is how my day. Honestly, I leave the house. I get home average evenings, 8 o'clock. That's a long day. To leave the house, it's a long day. So my wife, God bless her, was able to retire this year in March. And so she's looking for a companion to have around. So she's fine with me working. She would just like to see me home at 6 or 6:30, but it's great. We were both working crazy hours. We'd get home, we'd be eating cereal. We'd be eating whatever was in there just to have something to eat. Now, I make a quick phone call. Honey, I'm on my way home. And by the time I get home, dinner's ready, and I'm just loving it. So I'm eating really healthy, eating really good. We're both looking great. Sue's, we're both in probably the best shape in our lives just because we've been maintaining, well, really, since she's been home, she's been able to cook some pretty cool meals and keeping us pretty healthy and fit.
Now, when you're at these conferences, and I know before COVID, your bio said you're out at all the shows throughout North America. Let's say maybe you're doing some Europe, but let's say North America. When you're in there in your booth or you're speaking at a conference, how do the other competitors receive you as GESi? Do they say, oh, here's this guy again? Or are you getting respect with the name?
I'll tell you, if again, another time, if we have the opportunity to get in the show, we'll be able to share screen and put some images up. We have one of the best looking booths at the show that we go to, which is the Power Generation show. The colors are wild. They're like blue neons and blacks, and they pop. And our booth looks like we're a $1 billion company. And the $1 billion company's booth looks like they're doing $10 in revenue. So it's one of those dress to impress. You really got to pump the marketing. We spent, I would say, 75% of our profits that we would make annually would go back into R&D. But we've developed so many neat technologies, we reverse that now, and we're spending most of our money in the marketing to get the brand recognition. We've hired a company, Claudio Martinez, which is CMD, who's done an unbelievable job. We've got companies, Mike, that are generating, $6 billion a year in revenue, like real huge companies, Fortune 500 companies. And I'm getting comments from them to say, boy, whoever did your marketing is unbelievable. The colors, the message, the same message, the fonts, anyway, really, really great to hear that. So we're trying. We're doing our best that we can in the budget that we've got.
Well, we're out of time. I'd love to have you back because not only is it a world topic, but you're not a bad guy to interview. And I can't believe how good I look on camera. Wow. Anyways, tell in our last few seconds here, tell how the listeners and viewers, how they can reach you if they want to find out more about GESi. What are your social IDs?
So as far as the webpage goes, there's dpfxfit.com or GESi.us or gsport.by GESi.com. That's the performance line. Or our number here is 905-433-9640. And you can also follow us on Facebook under G Sport Emissions, or the race team, which is the best one to follow, is Team GESi Racing. Team GESi Racing. Check it out. Mike, we're heading to Quebec, Naperville next weekend for our final race in Canada. We're going to try to continue to, upload everything that goes on throughout the weekend. So if the listeners want to have a peek, that's the time to do it.
Okay, well, listen, we've been with Eric Latino, the man with many hats. Certainly, he's doing everything out of that company called GESi, which is Global Emissions System, Inc. We got to have you back on to catch up. It's a wild topic, this world of pollution and being green friendly. Folks, you've been listening to me, the BMD, on our YouTube channel, Major League Broadcasting, MLB. We're going to upload this video. Check it out. If you're happy, tell a friend. We'll see you next time.
All right. Take care.